Okay.
Hello, my name's John McGilvery. I'm the interviewer for the Massachusetts Veterans Oral History Project. We're conducting this interview on Friday, April 28th at 1:10 p.m. at the Norwell, Massachusetts Council on Aging. We're interviewing Al Ferguson, and
Right.
Al, I was wondering if you could tell me your date of birth.
2225.
All right.
That was BC though. Yeah, I was born in Egypt. My mother was a mummy.
There you go. Can you tell me what community you live in now? Do you live in Norwell? Or?
I live in Norwell now. Yeah.
Okay. And so what branch of the service did you enter?
Well, I tried to join the Marines, but
Get out of here.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to be a Marine, but I had a bad hernia for playing football, and when I went in to try to get in the Marines, they said, no, you'd have to have it operated at first. In those days, I wouldn't have the money for a kid, you know, to have it operated. So I tried the Navy, and I figured I could get in that way, but there's a corpsman or something, you know.
Right.
And but the Navy took me, and they operated when I was through at boot camp. They operated on me.
And when did you go in the Navy? What was the date that you went to?
Oh, I can't remember the date.
Do you know the year?
Let's see, it was just the beginning of 43 on either
Okay.
side. Yeah. I think
And what was your hometown when you entered the military?
Hingham, right down the
Hingham?
line. Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, I lived there most of my life.
And so Hingham would have been your hometown, it's where
Right.
you grew up, and okay.
Right.
And what was your highest level of schooling?
Well, I went to high school, and I left early to go into service, then came back and finished up. And that was around when the war ended,
45?
45. Yeah, once I left, I had to make 2 trips to India, believe it or not. And then I got out, and then I went, let's see, I got out at 45. It took a while. Because I had to go in a couple. I didn't have enough time to get out earlier, you know.
Sure. Well, let me ask, why did you join the military?
Because I wanted to.
Okay.
I think I just really wanted to, you know.
All right.
I wanted to be a Marine anyways, to start with.
All
I used to
right.
hang around with the Marines up here in Hingham. They had a Marine base there. And so I used to hang with the kids over there that lived there, you know.
Yeah.
And I got to know the Marines. I liked them, and I wanted to be one, you know. That was it.
All right.
Yeah.
I always knew I liked you.
Hoorah!
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask, when you joined the military, did many of your family or relatives or friends also join, or had they joined?
I had a younger brother joined shortly before the war ended. He was too young yet, you know. Yeah, he went in the Navy.
And at that point in time, were there any of your family, relatives, or friends who disparaged you or opposed you entering the military?
No, not at all. We were all
Okay.
gung-ho, so to speak, you know.
All right. Well, now, can you tell me what your first days in the service were like? You know, going to boot camp and stuff.
Oh, I
what
loved
was it
it.
like leaving home? Maybe did you go by train?
By train.
Tell me about getting on the train, heading to boot camp, and
Oh, yeah.
you. I don't know if you
I'll
had
tell you.
drill instructors, but you had those Navy petty officers or something that were training you.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
tell me about that. Tell me about your experiences
Okay,
at boot
well,
camp.
from the beginning then.
Yeah.
All right, what I did, I joined up when I was 16, but I had to wait a while till I turned 17. Then I
Okay.
went in, and I had to go into the Navy, in the post office building, and wait there until they put us on the trains and shipped us out. We went to Idaho. Yeah, I went out to Idaho, and I think what happened was Roosevelt's wife at that time was flying over, and she thought that'd be a great place for a camp. It was Camp Ferguson. And so I ended up there, but it was a long ride on those trains, like the ones that go from Hingham to Boston.
Yeah.
And you know, stiff seats and everything else. We were a mess when we got there. And as soon as we got there, they said, "You guys got 3 strikes against you." And I, because we're from Massachusetts, and all of us are Westerners or Southerners, and they took over the place once they got there. Boston boys, you know. But anyways, we went there, and we got off, and it wasn't that bad, really. I enjoyed boot camp. I loved running and jumping over things and doing all that type of thing. It didn't bother me at all.
And you didn't have the police after you, so...
No.
I'm only kidding you. And so when you went out there, you went not as an individual, but as part of a group. You had some other Boston guys there with you.
Right, oh yeah.
And so, anyway, while you were in boot camp, did you make some good friends there?
Yeah, I did, a few of them.
And did they stick with you throughout your service, or did you all get separated after
We all
boot camp?
got separated when we had to put down what we wanted to be. Of course, I put a lot of things down, but the last thing I put down was corpsman. But I figured maybe I could get in that way, and I put it down. And sure enough, I became a corpsman, and I went to medical school there.
Yeah.
And I, learned to be a corpsman, and then we were trained all the time we were in the service, more advanced things as you went along, you know. And I enjoyed the service. I would have stayed on only if my mother and father were getting old and I wanted to be around them. That's it, you know.
So after boot camp, where did they send you for your training as a corpsman?
Oh, I stayed right there.
Stayed right there?
It was a medical hospital there, and I learned there, you know.
And how long was the schooling to be a corpsman?
It was about, actually, it was quite hard because we go 9 to 9, and we had breaks in between, you know. And I went for just a little over 3 months before they shipped me out, you know. And I graduated, and I went to Seattle. Then I went to where was that? A place right down the line from there. There's a shipyard, and I had a hospital there. I went to the hospital, but I put in for going to another building. It was smaller, and it had. I used to do the. Physicals and all that type of thing, yeah. And we had a prison in that, we had a hospital and a prison too. And they would send the prisoners down to be checked, so they were always sick, all of them. So the doctor didn't like going up there with those guys, they're pretty tough, you know. So he sent me, I was one of the bigger guys at that time, you know.
Hey.
I go up and one time, one guy went after me, took a swing at me, and I just backed off like I saw him coming, you know, and the 2 Marines took him with their guns. They did a job on him.
So was that a military prison? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that was a brig type of...
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You don't
want
to mess with the Marines and those...
No.
No,
we'd be playing buddies with those guys.
So after that, after your boot camp, after your medical training and stuff, were you assigned to a permanent duty station or put on board ship, or where did you go then?
Brand new ship.
Brand new ship.
We had to wait for it, but Treasure Island, that's in Frisco.
Yeah.
And they finally got it all set, and they brought it over, and we took it on cruises to check it out, see if everything was going to work all right, you know. And then we finally loaded up the ship. And the first thing that happened on the ship when we were loading up, because they had these wooden panels up top at each level, and they would drop down medical supplies. And all of a sudden this guy comes down and lands there. He was the first patient. He fell through. Yeah. And yeah, we loaded up, then we went out and they checked the ship out, make sure it was all right. It was brand new, it was spanking new. And then we went overseas. We went everywhere. We cruised every possible place in the Pacific, just about everywhere. Russell Islands. We went to Australia. We went to New Guinea.
Yeah, you wound up with
Philippines.
Admiral Halsey's
that bunch,
Task Force 38 there.
Yes, I was in that one, just for a short while.
Yeah.
We went in there, and the first thing you know, they're trying to sink us. When we traveled by ourselves, we were
Who would want
safe.
to do that to such a nice guy like you,
Yeah,
you know?
a couple of days later, we snuck out at night, went on our own to Philippines.
Yeah.
We went around the back end of it because they just chased them out of Manila. That's where we went.
Yeah.
And so that was quite an experience there. And look, I've been shot at too a couple of times going ashore. I had to go ashore, and I think it was the Marianas. And what happened was they took 4 of us corpsmen, and we put us on Higgins' boat. We had to climb down the rope ladder to get on the ship, and that's quite a trick. So we went ashore and went up to a hill. It was in the boonies there, you know. And we've got this, we've been going back to the States, and we picked up this patient who was really in bad shape. He needed to go back to the States to get taken care of, you know. This is one guy.
Yeah, he was an Army guy, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it?
Yeah, it was Army, I think, and they called the Navy for some help there.
Oh, that's the way. Yeah. But anyways, we got him set, so we took off with him, and then we're going down the hill, and all of a sudden they started shooting at us. They could hear the bullets going right by us, zing, you know. And we ran all the way. I thought we were going to take off. We were running so fast, but we got him back to the ship in the Higgins boat first. Then they got a derrick, and they picked him up and put him in. And then then we had to climb that rope ladder again. It was kind of rough, and you had to leap for it. And if you'd miss it, you could get squashed between the.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. They think they see John Wayne climb over and
right.
so easy,
No.
but that landing craft can smash you right against
Right
it.
against it, but
yeah.
I'd hate to try it now because I would miss.
Right.
But we got him aboard and everything, and it was all set, you know. But little things like that happened.
Yeah. Well, eventually you got that guy on board the ship, and the ship went back to the States for repairs.
Right,
I think.
right. For a couple of weeks, then
Yeah.
I went home.
And when you get back to the States, is that something where you get to go on leave, or do you get
went on
you have
leave.
to stay with the ship, or what do you do?
Oh no, they let you go. When we hit the West Coast, we went home from there. Because one time we went from New York, which was great, because to Boston, trains are right there, you know, it's quick. But
and for you being out there on the West Coast, do you take a train home, or do you try and get those military hops, you know, try and hook
never at that.
get on the train?
Because they can kick you off.
Yeah.
But the officers, I was a petty officer, but didn't count.
Yeah.
But anyways, I ended up going home for a couple of weeks, then I came back, and we went to all the islands, back and forth, Russell Islands, and it was funny. When we hit the Russell Islands, we went ashore, and they were all dark skinned. They were light colored, only they looked a little different. And when we went ashore there, they liked us, But when all the colored fellows came ashore, it was awful. We had to get them back on the ship. All of a sudden, all the girls disappeared, and they kept circling each other, like it's another tribe or something, you know, and they hid the girls. And so we got them back on the ship because there was no place to be for them because they'd be killing each other, you know. And it was kind of weird, and yeah, different, like a different tribe.
Yeah.
But geez, they were so far apart from each other, there was no connection.
Wow.
And,
Now, in your travels back and forth and being in the Pacific and South Pacific, did you ever get ill at all?
get what?
Ill? Did you get sick?
Oh, I got sick when we went to India. I went twice there to pick up troops. It was CBI area.
Yeah, China, India.
Yeah, that's right. So when I got there, I think it was the first time. It was awful there. It was terrible. They were having a famine or something going on. They were picking up bodies in the street, burning gas up the ways, and burning all the dead people around like that. And I got dengue fever. It's a bad one, and younger or older could possibly die with it. It's so bad. But I hear where I was right in sick bay anyways when I got on the ship. So I spent 2 weeks in bed, and the doctor says, well, try and get up and try to take temperatures or something. You know, I worked in the ER all the time. And I tried, and the first one I shook, I threw it across the room. I went back into bed again. You know, it was strange. But no, I had, yeah, that was bad. I was right at the end of the war, too. I was right near the end of the war. It ended when the second one, we came home. But I didn't leave the ship right away. I had to wait. We went down to the west side. We went to the Suez a number of times. Then we went the other way. It was, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I finally got off the ship in New York, believe it or not, so I could take the train home. We came that way, you know. But surprising, you know. I loved the life there. I wanted to stay in.
Yeah.
But
how come you didn't?
Huh?
Why didn't you stay in?
Well, because my mother and father are getting old, and I wanted to be around.
Sure.
You know, because I could be anywhere after the war. You know, I could station me somewhere in a.
Well, let me back up just a little bit now. I want to ask, what were I got two questions here for you. One, what do you think was your most memorable experience in the military? And two, what was your most humorous experience in the military?
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of that.
Yeah.
But, well, being shot at was one of them. And trying to be torpedoed, I went down to sick bay, and I was sitting there, and the side of the ship was banging, you know, when they drop a ash can. You could hear it against the walls, like somebody with a sledgehammer. I was starting to fall asleep. I was all alone in the sick bay. I was there in case they brought somebody down to me, you know. And I said, well, if we get hit, I'll be just a puff of smoke. I won't feel anything, you know. And it didn't bother me. I don't know why. I said, I was crazy. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those things if you can't control it.
Best time when we always stopped at Hawaiian Islands. And I liked that. We stayed there for a while, they fueled up and did things, you know.
Yeah.
And I had a great time there. It was good. I liked that, you know.
Excellent. And now, do you ever stay in touch with any of the shipmates that you had from?
Well, there was only one. We didn't have anything like some ships have. They get together
the
every
reunions.
year. Yeah. We didn't have that at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I met one guy who was from Dorchester. Yeah. But that's all. That's the only one I've ever met that I had any connection with.
All right.
Yeah.
And for entertainment while you were in, did you have like USO shows, or What did you do? I mean, you're on ship most of the time.
Well,
so,
yeah, I was on a ship.
you
I
know,
loved it.
yeah.
I liked sea to have been
What
there.
they do, show movies and stuff on
They
the
had a lot of
fantail,
movies.
yeah,
And we had what they call the smokers.
yeah,
Certain people would get up and fight.
yeah. Oh, I know what you mean.
You
yeah.
know what I mean, a smoker, the
Yes.
Marines, Army,
Right.
Navy. And I tried it myself. I fought 4 times, did all right. I said, what am I doing this for? I get my head knocked around, you know?
Yeah,
So I decided to patch them up instead.
yeah.
That's a good idea.
Smarter move. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I was bigger then. I was a big guy. In fact, I weighed, that's a short while ago, 264
Wow,
pounds, and now I'm down to 205.
wow. 264. The Patriots might have been looking for you, you know?
Well, to tell you the truth, when I went into the service, my coach, who was played for Boston College, and his brother, they were twins. He says, when you come back, I said, I'm going to talk to the coaches there when you get back. You know, another 3 or 4 years, they figured. Now see what I can do to get you into BC. And they said, oh, great. And I came back, and the poor guy died before I got there, and that ended that.
Wow.
So I finished high school. Then I went to, well, they call it Quincy Junior, or Quincy,
Community?
Quincy College, I
Yeah.
guess now. But that was through the government, though. That was the
Yeah.
government was taking care of that. went there nights for a while.
Well, before we get to that,
Yeah.
tell me about the day you got out of the Navy, the day you got discharged or separated from the Navy. What
Yeah.
was that like?
It was strange.
I mean, you must have known, hey, I'm getting discharged on
Right.
such and such a date.
Yeah.
And so there was probably a little bit of a build-up, anticipation. What was it like that day when you got out?
To tell you the truth, I was a little scared. I said, now I'm going to have to go to school, back to school. I'm going to have to get a job,
Yeah.
everything else. And if only for my folks, I would have turned around and gone back in the Navy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
And I liked the Marine Corps too. I don't know if I could, I don't know if they'd switch me or not.
Right.
Yeah, because I was a corpsman too, you know. And
Sure.
I knew this stuff.
Well, did your folks know you were getting out of the Navy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote them. I told them I would be getting out pretty quick. You
So
know?
they must have been pretty happy when
Oh
they
yeah,
saw
they
you
were happy.
come home, have the sea
Yeah.
bag and
Oh, the whole works. you
yeah,
know.
the whole works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's so strange.
So when you did get home, did you decide, well, I'm going to go right to work, or I'm going to go to school, or I'm going to take a little bit of time off and just relax for a bit, you know? What did you do?
I went to school.
And that's where you went to Quincy?
Yeah, I went nights there. Whoops, excuse me. And at nighttime, and then I went to day school. But I got a lot of extra points for all the things I did in the service. You know what I mean? I learned all about
all the science,
all the different
medical,
things. Yeah, medical, and so I got out pretty quick. And then I went to night school for a while. Then after that, I met a girl. I was on the White Horse because I was going roller skating with some of the guys. I was walking to where they lived, and she was on 3A, and she was being bothered by a bunch of guys in a car. And she says, "Would you stand by me till they leave me alone?" I said, "Sure." So I stood with her. Then the bus came, she got on, but I met her down, and she was going skating too. And that was the end then. That's when I married her.
So you've been standing beside her ever since, you know?
Yeah, a long time, 50 years.
Yeah. A
That was
good
it.
line, stand beside me.
Yeah, she could have gone a second earlier or
Yeah.
something, and now I would never probably even know her.
You never, isn't it funny the way that works?
I know it is, actually.
So then, what did you do for a career? What did you do for work?
Oh, when I got out, I worked part-time at odd jobs, you know, and then I ended up working for the federal government. And I retired from the federal government, so I had a pension. But I was 55 when I retired.
Yeah.
Imagine that. And I still have the pension.
Wow.
Medical.
That's actually pretty young, 55, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it was, because I went into this. I was young to start with, like the service and all
Right.
that. When I got out, shortly after that, I went with the government, and I stayed just under 34 years, actually. And I got that age. I got 55,
Right.
and I heard the president at that time was thinking of putting us on Social Security and get less, and have to wait longer and all that stuff. I said, I'm getting out. I've had it. So I got out.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we left. I left the kids at our house. And the two that were left, they were like the yo-yos. They keep coming back and hanging. So I said, we're leaving for the Cape. So I lived down there 9 years. But my daughter, she lived in the time Situate. She developed MS, multiple sclerosis. So what happened is we moved down here to Norwell. After the kids left and went to California, and we sold the house, and we were down in Cape, we came back from the Cape. That's when we sold the house. And then, they got it reversed, I guess. But anyways, we got rid of the house, and we were looking for a place down here, close by with my kid, my daughter and everybody. We went back to Hingham, but then we left and came to Norwell, to a place down here, there, Washington Street down there.
Sure.
Yeah, and it was a pretty good deal. And of course, right after that, my wife died, and then my daughter died right after her. So I was all alone down here, and kids would come to see me. Huh?
I say sorry to hear that, Al.
Oh yeah, and I lost my boy about 4 years ago. He was a what do you call it, software engineer. He was doing a big job out in California, and he died in bed. His wife heard him making noises, and he had a heart attack, and I couldn't save him. He was young.
Wow.
He was only in his late 50s.
It's one of those things. I mean, you've gone through a life, you know, fraught with danger and stuff, and
all kinds of things.
You don't know.
No, you don't. You don't know. No. But I got two left. One's in New Hampshire, outside of Manchester. Got a nice place there. My other boy runs a hotel, one of the big hotels in San Francisco. So the boy out there calls me all the time, and my boy talks to me every night, the other one. And I see him. They were down a couple of weeks ago. They come down and visit me and help me with groceries and stuff.
Well, let me ask you just a few more questions.
Yeah.
For you and the military, how do you think that affected your life, you know?
It made it a little differently.
Yeah.
And I know because I had a lot of experience with everything,
Right.
problems and everything else, and it worked out. Yeah, otherwise, I've had a pretty good life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just a couple other things. Did you ever use the Veterans Administration for like maybe medical care? Or?
I went to the VA once, and I was at that particular time I was working two jobs, and I passed out one at a time. They said, "Doc says I don't want to lose you." So.
Yeah.
But then I went for the government after that,
Sure.
so I was straight.
And did you ever use the VA to buy your home or anything?
No.
Or apply for compensation or anything?
Oh no,
with the VA?
never did. No.
Okay.
No.
I guess we're down to the end here, where this is where I get to ask you if there's anything you would like to add that we did not cover in the interview. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, it was quite an experience though, being a corpsman.
Yeah,
It really was. You learned an awful lot.
sure.
And it helped me when I went back to school because I had a lot of different physics and all kinds of things connected to the medical, being a corpsman. And they gave me extra points to graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was working pretty good, you know.
And when you worked for the government, what did you do for them?
Well, when I started, I went into, I was at the Department of Defense first.
Okay.
And occasionally, I worked for compliance. A friend of mine ran it. It was a very small outfit.
Yeah.
But when people were stealing things from the government, I mean big time, he'd send me out once in a while with a camera, and I'd take pictures of actually doing it. You know, it was kind of an exciting life. I kind of liked that too. And we were good friends. And then I'd take pictures and all that, and they'd grab the guys and they would take them in and they'd say, oh, we didn't steal anything, of course not. And then they'd throw these big, huge pictures of them, stuffing them in their cars, guys putting them in trucks.
Yeah.
And one guy was really bad. He was a loan shark from Chelsea, I was like around that area. But he worked for the government, and he was loading up trucks, half for him and half for whatever, where they were sending it, you know. On my vacation, I had to come in and grab him. So I parked my car against the fence, and he was 2 cars away from me. I put up my hood like I was working on it. And then as soon as he came, I said, I got bags of stuff, but usually we wanted him because he used to load the trucks up. And I went over and I says, you got a permit for that? Take that out? He said, well, no. So I said, well, I guess you're going to have to wait here a few minutes. And around the corner, after that, the guys started coming out, you know, to work there, the big shots. And he started to try to get in his car, so I had to put him down because I was big then. And now I'm nothing.
Wow, you still look pretty good. But it just, just wrapping up, it seems to me that your time in the military has provided you with the foundation that helped you throughout the rest of your life. And,
right. I've been through it quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Al, I want to thank you for taking part in this Massachusetts Military Veterans Oral History Project.
Anytime.
And sharing your reflections with us.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank you for your service to your country and also to your community and to the Commonwealth.
So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I had a fight to get in too.
And thank you for not sticking a needle in me when you were a corpsman. So.
Usually the Marines would walk off with them. They just twisted on, you know. And we had to grab him, come back. He said, we need that needle.